theories that we spoke about, and there's a lot. Oh, I'm live now. So
It's still like, it looks like it's loading up here, but I think it finally worked.
yes, thank you. So we took a break, and I am curious about the theories that we spoke about and what's resonating for folks or not. And I wrote down the big long list of everything we spoke about. Yeah, so we spoke about levels of conflict, we spoke about the individual and the structure, we spoke about intersectionality, and I just wanted to come back and mention a gap in the history. So intersectionality, which you may or may not know, comes from Black feminism. It was, for folks on the Facebook Live, it was an academic, Kimberly Crenshaw, who came up with that. And I've really noticed in myself and other folks that it's left those roots. So I just wanted to come back and honor that it is a Black feminist movement, and it came from a woman of color not needing that additional aspect of it, that it's much harder or different for women of color as opposed to white women. And then we spoke about the Thomas and Kilman conflict theories and the Haven communication model and accountability and biases and calling in and calling out. Those were kind of the headlines I had. Is there any questions about those theories? Any wonderings? Anything that you're like, I don't remember talking about that? And you can put it in the chat as well if you like. But I just wanted to just really list off all the headlines that we spoke about and seeing what kind of, if people forgot about them or like, I don't remember talking about that or just had questions.
When you listed them all off, I remembered them briefly, and they felt very distant, mostly just because a lot has happened in my life, and I'm going to say, honestly, I wasn't able to or conscious of spending a lot of time wrestling with the concepts outside of our group, really. And but some of the themes have sort of come back up in school, so I'm waiting to see maybe if there's an opportunity to bring those in or continue discussing. But I vaguely remember most of the things, yes.
Yeah, I was taking notes. I'm gonna flip my phone here. And just going over them before this meeting here. And I think the things that really stuck for me were thinking about conflict analysis and thinking about how people deal with conflict is like kind of a cultural thing. And so there's different ways to approach it. I also really appreciated like the call in, call out part, because it made me think about just what worked and what didn't in terms of calling out in and calling out as a strategy when I was working as an education assistant. And so yeah, a lot of this stuff like I really absorbed because it helped me create concepts for like some of the strategies I created or some of the other strategies that worked as an education assistant that I might have learned with like different vocabulary or something like that. So yeah.
Great. And feel free to use the chat as well if you don't wish to express to a group or to Facebook Live. And no pressure to communicate either way. So as we haven't created art together before in this way, and I thought we would just start with exploring metaphor. And a metaphor that I was thinking about is stickiness. And it's funny because the mug that I pulled out is sticky, I think from like the price tag. So my mug is sticky, and I was aware that in the metaphor of stickiness, we use it in a good way and we use it in a bad way. So like my mug is a bad type of sticky, like it's making my hands kind of gross and I'm not sure why. But then there's a good kind of sticky, like a earworm or a song that you can't get out of your head that you're really jamming with. And so I was just curious with the metaphor of sticky, of what's kind of sticking for you in the theories that we spoke about. And the kind of sticky, like what are all the ways that things can be sticky? So two things, the ways things can be sticky. This is my gesture for that now. And yeah, so kind of what are all the ways something can stick?
I have an analogy / metaphor, which I'm usually pretty bad at in this group, but those like really terrible plants that have the burrs on them and they get stuck to everything, even when you're wearing like leather or whatever, something that it shouldn't stick to. And I don't know if it's quite that intense, but it's also kind of everywhere, this unconscious bias thing. Because even when I was, so a lot of the books that I'm reading for school now, I'm in seminary, so learning theology and pastoral care and whatever. So it's, there's like a lot of depth that we're giving to the readings. And one of the books that we just read was a very heart-filled, like passionate, hey, find the love of God type thing. And the author was trying to write for a secular audience, like his friend who's not Christian or not religious or whatever, and he completely did not realize that he was writing from a Christian place, like so thoroughly. And so it was quite evident to us as readers, and well, anyone except himself, I guess, the unconscious bias, because it was just very prevalent in the book. So yeah, that's the burr of just like, there's unconscious bias everywhere. Ha ha ha. That same burr is here in Minneapolis.
Great, thank you, Pen. And you got my confusing question spot on. So thank you. Yeah, burrs and getting stuck to fabric no matter what.
Yeah, I think like also having been doing a lot of reading in a different area, but in education, there's like a lot of times where I'm reading something and it's just like, is that right? Like, we can say that this is important, but why or how? I think like we need to explain this more, or like just in my notes, it's like, is this even true? Like, and then the whole, like, it's like a house of cards, right? Like it's all glued together by that bottom structure, and if like the one thing falls, then the whole thing falls apart. So thinking about how, or like, I guess considering how our biases or our expectations like build our whole worldview, and how they're there, but like if we start thinking about one of them, maybe it relates to all the others structurally. That's sort of what I've been thinking about lately, just overall.
Great. Kyle, what's kind of your metaphor of sticky? We've heard burrs and houses of cards that are glued together, and that one's an interesting one because I always think of the precarity of house of cards.
Yeah, I just came up with it right before you asked, so I'm glad that I had a couple moments there. I think it's like a song that's stuck in my head, because it's kind of the same ideas keep on looping through my head. In past meetings, I kind of mentioned I've been reading about persuasion and how we have these first impressions that are kind of like unconscious biases that we have, like even before we're even conscious of it. Like we come across a new idea or a new person or something like that, and we come up with judgments and discriminations or conclusions even before we even like fully analyze them or criticize what we're thinking. And in the books I've been reading about persuasion, it's a lot about, they talk about this lizard brain and how it's kind of a defense, fight or flight mechanism and it's really hard to persuade people or talk to people about new ideas when that defense mechanism is up, and just the idea of like taking more time to let people process ideas, you know, in the midst of conversations or debates or what have you. And yeah, so just maybe that's been a song stuck in my head.
Great, thank you. So today so that's a little intro to kind of metaphor and shifting and getting us sensitized to using sticky and metaphors. So I want you to, in your house, find an object that might spark a stickiness. So it could be my mug that is literally sticky, or so just an object in your house that has a sticky quality, and whatever that is for you. And I'd like you to present it to the screen so we can all see it.
There are a lot of sticky things in front of me.
Oh, that's great.
I also have grapes, which are pretty boring, but very sticky.
It's a weird object, but it exists. And
Great. Weird objects are wonderful.
Is that KT tape?
it is. I'm glad someone knows what it is. That's good.
Not for the reasons you would expect.
I might know
Oh, yeah.
the theory.
So we all have our objects, if we can show them. Mine's kind of gross. It is a cute, it's a dirty cute. Honey, okay. I'm just gonna, what's yours, Stacy?
It's a thing of KT tape, which is typically used for supporting injured muscles and joints.
Great, and Han, what's yours?
It's like a, it's knotted right now, but it's a string that is stretchy and kind of like those like stretchy muscle guy things, toys.
Interesting.
So it's stretchy. It was given to us. Everybody in seminary got one during the orientation day. So we were all like mailed these things, and we stretched them across the screen to like connect to everybody in our Zoom orientation day.
Interesting.
But it's got sticky.
So it's sticky and stretchy.
Yeah. And knotted in a ball.
So what I'd like you to do is someone else's object that you're interested in that you also find intriguing or sticky, and I'd like you to write a little short story about it. And I just opened like a Google Doc, so we can write them all in the Google Doc, or you can write it alone in your own space. So yeah, which of these things intrigues you to write about? And I'll just share the link here. Oh, wrong one.
I'm on my phone, so I might be a bit hard for me to engage
That's
in the
okay.
Google Doc. Cool.
Yeah, so you can use, needs me to name it before sharing. Yeah, feel free to use analog as well, like just write it out. Whatever's best for you. So I'll put this here. So you can write it into the Google Doc, you can write it privately with pen or whatever. So we had KT tape, honey, and a stretchy knot thing. And some of my prompt questions, which I'll put in the chat, I'm just using my phone as the prompt, is so story of the object and what it might be facing now.
Might be what?
Facing now. A struggle, perhaps, and how it overcame the struggle.
And are we writing about our own object or about another person's object?
Another person's object.
Got it.
The Google Doc is currently private, but
Oh no.
do you want it to be public, I guess is the question. Or do you just want us to ask for permission?
I'm just gonna change it. There. Done. Can you try again?
Yeah, it's there now.
Okay, great. I was having the same problem. So
I have one professor who basically is like, hey, pop open this Google Doc. Hey, pop open this Google Doc. Hey, pop open this Google Doc. And like some of them are request access and not meant to be. So we're just like, oh, we can't.
I'm just scaring my video off while I'm typing so I don't just make weird faces.
That's its weight story.
Are you making it available on the Facebook stream too? I don't know if anybody's watching.
I'm not. No.
Okay.
So people at home, find your own object or one of our objects and write a story on it. And so my prompt again for folks on Facebook Live is write a story of the object and what it might be facing now, a struggle perhaps, and then how it overcame the struggle. And some of the things I'd like you to think about with the object is what's its weight, its story, its manufacturing, some of the struggles that might have as an object, and you can let us know what your story is. For Facebook Live, you can put it into the comment box or you can email me at brooke@rwuc.org.
Your Google Doc is not editable.
I'm having the worst luck with technology.
Yeah, I just asked permission to edit it.
I don't know if that has to go through an email and all sorts of other.
I can change it live on the Pi now. My apologies, I should have looked at that before.
That's okay. Yep.
Great. I've never done a shared access story, so I'm just going to be down here and you can write it. We can write about the same thing. I might write mine in a notebook. Great angle, Kyle. I like it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's the phone can either have a 90-degree or a flat angle.
Just a couple more minutes. We'll reconvene at like 9:42. Wonder. Photo of my story. Okay. Are people good with their stories?
I'm just
When
wrapping
you're
mine up.
ready. Great. When you come back to the circle, if you can unmute yourself, the circle, the Zoom, and we'll begin to share.
Yeah.
Great. So how was that art making process for folks to write in the shared Google Doc? Or I wrote mine in my notebook, but
I was actually surprised at how easy it was. Usually I take a lot more time to like come up with ideas and write them. So I kind of just wrote it as more like stream of consciousness, and I think that actually worked out okay.
great. I do have some questions about your particular story, and I'm wondering because you and Pan wrote into the Google Doc, but for the sake of Facebook Live, I thought I could share mine. So there's one that's on the live, and then we can kind of read what's on the Google Doc, and then I'll ask my questions. And for the transparency of expressive arts, the questions are called aesthetic analysis. So we kind of look at it, but not dive too much into it. It's just some questions about your art making. So I can share mine and what I wrote, and then I will ask you to title it as a group. What would the title be for this? And Kyle, you didn't write it in the Google Doc either, right?
Yeah, I did not write in the Google Doc. I ended up writing, something analog.
Okay. So I'll quickly share mine, and if you want to share yours too, or you can take a photo of it, and
I can do both.
into the chat.
Cool. Yeah, I can do that. I can. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. So this is a story I wrote about the KT tape. and I'd love for you to title it for me. So I exist to aid and support, a stretchy bundle. I roll onto skin, I stimulate the nerves on and off. I hope I'm getting what KT tape does. I support muscles, reinforcing. When I first go on, sometimes people hate what I do. I'm only on for a short while and then I'm pulled off, just simply discarded. How can I be so short lived? How can I be so disposable for providing and then done? I feel used, I am used, with no care or thought to my feelings or needs. It's only one sided. How do I overcome this existential struggle? What is my purpose in the world? So I joined a KT tape support group, working alongside other KT tapes to explore this question. We build solidarity and decide to organize. We don't want to be disposable. We want lasting relationships and breaks to be ourselves. So what's a title you would give my story?
KT
I
support
wanted
group.
I wanted to do something with the K and the T, with T being therapy, but I can't come up with like a K.
So something therapy?
Like something witty, because that's how I want all titles to be.
Yeah, if you, maybe another way to describe this, if you had to build a book cover for my story, what would the book cover look like?
KT tape.
How close? How far away? Is it just KT tape all over the book? Yeah, it's a book
I
cover.
feel like it would be like KT tape stretched too far.
Ah,
So there is a property of KT tape that it's like very, very stretchy. So that's a joke. You have never used it.
fantastic. Thank you for titling mine. Kyle, do you want to share yours with a photo?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do that without stopping Zoom. Just a second.
Oh yeah, because it's on a phone. No worries, you can share it later too if you like. 'Cause I think-
I can like do here. I'll point my. Can I point my phone at it and somebody else takes a picture?
Mhm.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, it's good to see it, but it's hard to take a picture.
Okay. Could I just? Do you want me to just read it?
Sure.
Okay. I also chose an existential KT tape story as well. So here we go. The band of stickiness wrapped in a donut shape became conscious inside a dark space that was rumbling. A long time after the rumbling stopped, a light opened above and a claw placed the inanimate yet conscious KT tape in the fluorescent shine of the store shelf. What is my purpose? The KT tape wondered. Quite quickly, the tape was grabbed from the shelf by another clawed being, and the KT tape stayed in the dark for a little longer. Eventually, the clawed being made noises and peeled the outer shell of the KT tape. The clawed being dug deeper and peeled strips of tape that were used to help heal the clawed being. The tape soon realized its purpose was to help heal clawed beings and maybe even other beings for all of his existence. And that's pretty much where I got to.
Fantastic. Any titles for Kyle's KT tape story? Or things you notice in it?
I love the clawed beings.
Odd beings.
And discovery, I guess. Those are the themes that kind of stick out.
Discovery of the clawed beings.
That stick out.
Discovery of purpose, too, you said, I think. Like,
Yeah.
not really knowing what its purpose was until the clawed being came around. It seems sort of like egocentric to say that it's about the clawed beings.
Yeah, maybe that at some point the KTK tape could defy its purpose, but I don't know. It's there's a comic called called Scud, and it was a disposable assassin, and they would self-destruct once their mission was complete. So one discovered that, and they would do everything they can to protect this human. So like he was given the mission to assassinate this person, but he learned that if he killed him, he would die. So he would do everything he can to protect that human. It's-
The opposite.
yeah, totally.
Great. I'm gonna share my screen so we can look at the Google stories. Is that okay? And we don't necessarily have to read them. We can just kind of notice what sticks out and title them. We can shout out titles. Oh, I can't share the screen because I'm not the host.
Oh no.
But let's see, where is it?
We could just copy and paste it into the chat, maybe.
Yeah, I can do
Just
that.
made you a co-host, so you should be able to share.
Okay. Thank
Oh,
you.
the mysterious voice.
Out of nowhere. I am listening.
That's very helpful.
Thank you. I actually really appreciate you helping that way. Oh,
Is it okay if I send the picture later too?
yes.
Cool.
Portion of screen. I'm just going to copy and paste them into the chat because it's not giving me the option that I want. One story. Oh,
The KT tape was very popular.
it was. What attracted people to that object?
I have ankylosing spondylitis, and wrapping myself in tensor bandages is a regular thing, and I didn't know this KT tape existed, so like I might be checking it out in the near future. And yeah,
I have used tape before. I was not necessarily attracted to the Q-tip,
Yeah.
and honey just kind of left my mind. So
I thought everybody was gonna pick the Q-tip, so like I was gonna pick the Q-tip
Everyone was going to pick the Q-tip.
because I thought it was like the most like interest. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I did a bad, and I ignored my impulse by like, because my first impulse was the Q-tip, because it was like, oh, that's also could have some existential purpose. Yeah, anyways, yeah.
So, Pan's stories in the chat. So I'll ask the same questions, or as the question has evolved. What sticks out for you, and what would you title it?
do you want me to read it?
If you want to.
Sometimes it's fun to read
Yes, read it.
aloud. Okay. Once upon a time, KT Tape, who likes to be known as Katie, she, her, and sometimes they, was facing a difficulty. Her whole life had been bound up around a single role. She was very giving and shared the strength she carried in her fibrous being whenever asked. What Katie didn't realize was that her life was limited. At the first request, she was exuberant and held up the weakening muscles. The second request was more challenging, but they held on and bound a chest tight with excitement for the wearer's performance. After a few more opportunities to help and support her soft-skinned friends, Katie felt herself getting a little thinner. It's not like she felt overly large before, nor was she trying to lose weight. Perhaps the stress of constantly giving was wearing on her. While facing this dilemma, Katie never once questioned the calling to do what she does best, and stuck to it. She found that although her length may have been dwindling, her desire to help only increased. She found that she could be more conservative with her gifts, and still succeed in the requests and need of her friends. One day, she came to understand that her life would end. She had been shared, stretched, cut, wrapped, stuck, and ripped in all ways, and while the pain was present, she understood that it was still an experience of joy. She embraced her gift to the end, and when asked to run to the end of her role, she did so with gratitude for being able to help, give, and live her fullness. The end.
I feel like I would title that Duties of Service and Paint. What would other people title that, or what sticks out for them?
Roles of support.
That's a great title too.
But
Great. Stacy, would you like to share your story? I have it ready to copy and paste into the chat as well, so I'll do
Sure.
that.
Yeah, go ahead. I like maybe didn't. I read the instructions too quickly, but I think it works. So, so I don't know what it's called, the weird string thing. So
Have a
the
name.
reason why I picked it, in fact, was because when I was a kid, it was always the thing, you know, like the old school vending machines where you like turn it and it has like a little. So there were always ones that had like a weird sticky hand that were very similar. And my parents, it drove my parents insane because we'd whap it against the wall and it would stick, but it would also get covered in dust. It would leave these like gross little handprints all over the wall. So anyway, so I was drawn to it because of that, partially. So the vending machine turned and popped out a small plastic container. It contained a small and unfamiliar object. Upon opening it and unraveling the object, it was a sticky, slightly slimy string. Wider than a shoelace, and in fact, almost as wide as your finger, it had the ability to stretch for what seemed to be an infinite length. I pulled it, at first cautiously, but as I came to understand what it was made of, I pulled it further and further. It seemed as though it couldn't break. As I pulled, it became thinner and thinner and started to pick up the dust and dirt around me. Unsure of what it was for or how to use it, I continued to stretch it and started to tie it into knots. Once very flexible, the knotting bound the object, which no longer moved or stretched in the way that it once did. It became stuck as it was, unyielding. Once knotted, it took up much more space. Due to its sticky nature, it did not want to come undone.
Thank you. Your interpretations of the instructions are totally good. Yeah, there's no absolute wrong way to do this. So what's some title? Not Stuck. So good. You are good at the witty titles, Pan.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Kyle, what sticks out for you with this one, and what would you title it?
The imagery of the knots binding the flexibility and its movement. That's something that definitely stands out with that one. Maybe, but also the first description about those like vending machine toys that really sticks out in my head too. So the title of like Sticky Fingers or something like that.
Great. So we are at time, or just very close to at time. So I have two closing questions for you. I'm gonna put them in the chat because normally I'd be like writing them on a piece of paper or something. So I find myself wanting to scribe meetings to replicate something for myself. So what surprised you? Surprised you? And okay, what did the art teach you about what stuck? How did the art surprise you about what stuck or didn't stick? And maybe the answer is nothing, and that's okay. But that's my closing question for you today. And you can write it in the chat. You can say it out loud. You can think about it and email me or message me later too.
I think it's interesting that all of our stories had like an element of change, like the object changing over time, in obviously different ways in each story, but like the transformation of the object was like a common theme in everyone's story, which was pretty interesting.
I guess maybe the whole process of taking a summary of our past discussions and then finding an object and then turning it into a story, and even like I guess at a previous like conflict analysis workshop where you asked us like what kind of music we were feeling like, and then if we put all that music in a room we would make a cacophony. It's just like that idea of taking something unconscious and bringing it conscious into some kind of imagery. That's something that's been kind of sticking to me throughout some of this. Yeah.
In like somewhat metaphorical way, I guess, because we've been talking about these sticky objects and what stuck. The fact that these things were meant to stick but then didn't stay. So similar to what Stacey was saying, like there was a change or there was a transformation. So I think more broadly, we say like nothing is stuck, even though it seems like it is. Like there's some sort of change that's going to happen at some point, and even the change could be getting stuck, like the knotted string getting stuck to itself after being stretched and played with and whatever, being turned into a knot. It's stuck to itself, and I think I got taught about the sticky is not bad.
It's 10:02. Are there any final thoughts that people have? Burning, lingering, sticky things you'd like to say before we close our time together?
I had an observation while I was listening to everybody else's stories of like how this like sense of resistance and like, I don't want to be this thing, I don't want to be used, and then that was like in major contrast to what I was writing of like, I'm willing to be used as a gift. Like, so I don't know if that's a reflection of where people are at in their own personal lives, like what's going on in people's heads or what they're reading, but I found it interesting because mine very much reflected one of the books that we were identifying in classes. So that was an observation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually stuck on deciding whether the KT tape should resist its purpose or accept its purpose and like become like a new thing with the cardboard donut in the middle. And like that's so I didn't know which way to go with that, but I did. Yeah, Claude Beans. I'm gonna be looking at humans like Claude Beans all day today.
I have this theory about KT tape, which is that if you overuse it, it actually like causes your muscles to become weaker because they get used to the KT tape. So it's kind of interesting that there's like this relationship with KT tape. It's like if you overuse like compression clothing and stuff like that, it also like, it holds you up, but it also causes your internal things that already hold you up to weaken. So it's kind of interesting. An interesting metaphor KT tape is, which I've never really thought about.
Yeah. What are the things that hold us up, compress us, and hold us back in the end? Thank you for joining and making the art making process. I will Facebook message you the full series and the Zoom links, and I would love for us to join in again and make art about these theories. In October, I'm going to talk about allyship. So there'll be a lecture about allyship and then a conversation time and art making time. And that's kind of the process that I'm hoping to experiment with for October and November. And then November will be about power. And I feel like I want to learn a lot about power. So if you have theories or articles or YouTube videos about how we can break down and describe power to the masses, please send them my way, because it's a personal interest and that I'm chewing a lot on. How do we make allyship and power transparent? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Pen. So that's kind of the series into the fall. And I'm around if you ever want to chat through some of these concepts that we've been playing with, or you want to play, you want to create some art together, some more KT tape stories. Also, I should give a plug-in for Laura Foster, also uses this page, the Spirited Arts Movement, and Robertson Wesley United Church hosts Open Art Studio in Wednesday afternoon. So after this session, there's an Open Art Studio model. And if you're not familiar with that, Laura provides some prompts and people create art together and kind of talk and commune regarding the art making process. Monday at 7 as well. Thank you, Pen. Great. So that's our morning. I feel like I'm running a kid show or something. I'm like, that's our morning series, folks. Come back for more art making on conflict theory next time. I've taken to waving as well, so I'm gonna wave at you all. And if there's any burning desires or reflections that you would like to be more private, I will be available by Facebook for that as well for the next hour. Okay, take care, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers.